Good morning or good afternoon to you, and welcome to our webinar on Vietnam's prominent role in the global supply chain. I'm Craig Martin, and I'm the chairman of Dynam Capital. And Dynam is a Vietnam-focused fund manager. We manage the London-listed Vietnam holding, about $140 million of assets under management, and we also manage an open-end fund. All we do is manage equities in Vietnam. We have a strong team on the ground, and we've demonstrated outperformance over 1, 3, 5, as well as 10 years by doing something very simple: finding good companies, engaging with them, and building a very high conviction portfolio, authentically with strong ESG. Our size means we're nimble. We can navigate the small, the medium, as well as the large opportunities. Thematically or sector-wise, we're based on what we see as the attractive components of the Vietnam story: industrialization opportunities, the rise in the domestic consumer, as well as the urbanization. Increasingly, you'll see made in Vietnam, a large, young, digitally connected population, but it's been attracting a lot of foreign direct investment for many, many years into manufacturing for export. Vietnam's really harnessed all this foreign direct investment. It's seen the wealth of its people increase. That's why the domestic consumption is also an attractive tipping point. But it's a very open economy. People are very surprised, perhaps, by the fact that Vietnam is such an open economy. 200% of its GDP through its imports and its exports. And it's done that really by being a very liberal partner in terms of free trade agreements, both bilateral and multilateral. Vietnam exports so many different things, so many different categories. Increasingly digital goods, your smartphone, your computers, your tablets. Apple are going to produce the iPad in Vietnam very soon. Your clothes, your 40% of running shoes are made in Vietnam. Your indoor furniture, your outdoor furniture. But increasingly importantly, in this time of food scarcity, Vietnam's a big exporter and a big producer of food. Fruit, vegetables, fish, and those kind of products. It can feed itself as a country, but it can also export food to the world. For the next 40 minutes or so, my colleague Tam will talk on Vietnam's macro and the equity market. And then Tin will talk about our sustainable approach and our portfolio in Vietnam. And we'll then introduce one of our portfolio companies, Gemodet, who we're very pleased and proud to have as a portfolio company. I'm very pleased that they will join our webinar this morning and to talk a little bit about their strength in building their company, and also Vietnam's strength in building its position in the global supply chain. I'll then summarize, and there'll be Q&A at the end. So feel free to drop Q&A questions into the Q&A tab, and we'll try and get through most of those during the course of today. The webinar will be recorded. I will also make available a full presentation set of slides for those that are interested as well. And those materials will be in due course on our website. So I'd like to hand over to Tam, who will take us through Vietnam's macroeconomy and the equity market.
Yeah, thank you, Craig, for the introduction. Like any other country in the world after the COVID-19, how the picture of Vietnam is very important now. Vietnam has been able to maintain a very strong and high GDP growth for a few decades and continue to do so. And we expect Vietnam will be able to do so in the next few decades. And with that growth, Vietnam could become among top 3 GDP and top 20 in the world in terms of GDP size. And more importantly, with that growth, Vietnam is at an inflection point of GDP per capita, and Vietnam could become a very big consumption market in the world. And with that growth and with that consumption market, Vietnam would be more resilient to the crisis globally. And it would create a lot of opportunity for people in many sectors like real estate, urbanization, and consumer products. And how would Vietnam be able to maintain that growth? There's 2 factors. The first one is the favorable demographic. Vietnam population is young and large and well educated, and the education in Vietnam is getting better. So Vietnam could compete with China and Mexico and many other countries in terms of FDI attraction. And Vietnam is also located in a strategic location and nearby many major economies like China, Japan, and Korea. And Vietnam has good relationship with those major economies. And strategically, Vietnam could be a very good alternative to China in the global supply chain. And GEMEDF, the portfolio company, would talk more about the role of Vietnam in the global supply chain later. And the government of Vietnam has been very consistent in its supportive policy for a more open economy. And the result is that is the diversified foreign trade partner of Vietnam. The export and import of Vietnam has been very resilient because of the well-diversified foreign trade partners. Even during the COVID, the import and export of Vietnam is still very resilient, very positive, as you can see in the chart on the right on the screen. And right after the COVID-19, the manufacturing sectors, the key driver of Vietnam for the last few decades, and for now, still very strong with the PMI more in the expansion territory already. And I think that the concern of every investor globally and domestically is the inflation. Very uniquely and surprisingly, that the inflation in Vietnam is not severe at all compared to other countries. The pressure is yes, but it's not severe because of the two factors. The first one is Vietnam doesn't have to import a lot of energy. Vietnam can supply the electricity, which is under control. And the second thing is Vietnam can export food, and Vietnam has been famous for exporting a lot of agricultural products like fishery, shrimp, and rice. So Vietnam even can benefit from the food prices globally. So yes, the picture of Vietnam is quite resilient, and Vietnam is ready for the recovery after the COVID-19. So how is the equity market and how is the opportunities? For more than 2 decades, the equity market of Vietnam has been developed a lot, and now the market cap of Vietnam is more than $300 million, and it attracts a lot of investors globally and locally. Lots of products, including ETF, local ETF, foreign one, and the rapid participation of retail investors. More than 1.5 million new domestic investors participated in the market only last year. And the liquidity of Vietnam is among the highest in ASEAN market. So the opportunities is there. And now I would like to hand over the presentation to Mr. Thân to talk about the portfolio of Vietnam Holding.
Thank you, Thanh, for the view of Vietnam economy and equity market. At Dynam Capital, we see the key driver for Vietnam to grow are the industrialization, domestic consumption, and urbanization. We then construct our portfolio follow those mega trends based on the combination of both top-down and bottom-up approaches. The local team pick up companies that can generate more than 20-25% earning per share growth per annum with reasonable price. We also integrated ESG dimensions into our investment process and carry out an active engagement program with our investees. We conduct company visits, talk with their management, their supplier, their distributor or customer, and even their competitor, for not only business and financial matters, but also the ESG issues. Please have a look at our top 10 holdings of our portfolio. Next slide, please. You can see that we have a high conviction portfolio with a concentration of 66.5% of the portfolio in the top 10. In the last 6 months, we have taken some profit and reduced our exposure on banking, financial services, real estate sector, but we still overweighted our investment in telecommunication, retail, and logistics. Those balancing efforts also help contribute to our performance. The top holding in our portfolio is an ITC company called FPT. It had very good achievement with 32% of net profit growth in the first 4 months of the year. The second holding, a retail company named Mobile One, have also a good growth in the first 5 months of the year with a strong recovery of the retail sector after the COVID. The third company, a port and logistic operator called Jamadat, is the company that we would like to introduce to you today. As mentioned earlier, Vietnam is on the process of industrialization with a good foreign direct investment flow from multinational companies. We see a strong linkage between being the one manufacturing hub and the robust growth of logistics sector in Vietnam. And Jamadat is a very good choice for the exporting story. The company was able to deliver 63% of net earnings growth last year, and we expect it would make another 60% growth this year. That good performance of business helped the stock outperform the market. Let me introduce Mrs. Tao, the IR manager of Jamadat, to make a presentation of the company today with us. Thank you. Please, Ms. Tao.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thần, for your kind introduction. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Could you please tell me whether you have seen the screen sharing by Jamadat? Okay, that's great. Thank you. So I would like to go on with my presentation. So first of all, concerning the challenges and opportunities from the zero COVID of China. You see that there are signs of Vietnam's economy benefiting from a flexible pandemic control policy. So many companies, especially in the electronics industry, are putting a lot of money in Vietnam. And South Korean electronics giant Samsung has announced in February that it would invest further $920 million. And there are also a continuing trend of moving high-tech production from China to Vietnam. And Vietnam's open economic policy of recent years, integrating into the global supply chain, has made the growth a success story possible in the first place. However, the downside is that Vietnam is dependent on the supplies of raw materials and component products, and some of which are missing or delayed due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. As such, resilient supply chains, therefore, the key for Vietnam's continued economic growth and strength in the coming time. The digital supply chains comprise the digital networking of all the processes and the steps in the supply chain to monitor them in real time and to make them even more efficient. Yes. Concerning the inflation and Ukraine crisis, you see that if the Russia and Ukraine, the conflict continues, it will have a serious impact on the bilateral trade between Vietnam and the two countries. In the short term, the crisis will affect the goods, the supply, the demand, and of course the prices. The conflict is one of the main reasons for increasing prices of several fuels and raw materials for production and consumption, such as gas, petroleum, wood, aluminum, nickel, corn, etc. And regarding transport and circulation of cargo, some shipping lines have refused to accept the orders to transport the cargo from Vietnam to Russia. And the freight rates, along with the shipping delays, will severely affect the trade in goods. And according to the statistics in Vietnam, Bilateral trade turnover between Vietnam and Russia in 2021 reached $5.5 billion. With China, it is $165 billion, and with the US, it is $111 billion. And for GEMADEP to cope with such situation, the cost management is the top priority. And then the port equipment electrification using the ERDG, ESDS, the other electric equipment, port operation digital software. Those are our choice. And the fuel surcharges in the shipping activities. You know that we have the contracts with the shipping lines, we have the contracts with our importers and exporters. And whenever the fuel prices increases, then we can apply the fuel surcharge article, so that we can control the cost when the fuel price is soaring up. So those are the ways that we are dealing with such the situation. GEMADEP, we are the leading port and logistics operator in Vietnam. We have the ecosystem of port and logistics. In the logistics activities, we have 6 different sectors, including distribution center, air cargo terminal, the OG cargo transport, shipping activities, cold chain logistics, and the auto logistics. So we link all the services together to provide our customers with a full package logistics services. And you see concerning the GEMADEP's port growth, in average, we are growing at 18%, with the volume increases 13 times over the years. We were established in 1990, and 1993, we became one of the first 3 companies in Vietnam to be privatized and then listed on the stock exchange since 2002. And over the years, you can see the significant milestones that we are on the way of developing and strengthening our port and logistics ecosystems with the new names of the projects coming into stream year after year. In a very short time, you can see that in the short time that we have developed such a strong growing port and logistics ecosystem. And this is the picture of our whole network. Vietnam, we have a very long coastline. We have 3,200 kilometers of the coastline from the north to the south of Vietnam. And you can say that up to this moment, GEMADEP is the sole private sole joint stock company in Vietnam, having such an integrated network of port and logistics from the north to the south of Vietnam. On your right-hand side, you can see our port network with 8 ports, including 3 ports in the north, namely Nam Hai, Đình Vũ, and Nam Đình Vũ. And in the central, we have GEMADEP Trung Quốc International Port. And in the south of Vietnam, we have Phước Long ICD and Vinh Tân Port. We have Gemelink Deep Sea Port, which is the largest among the top 19 deep sea ports in the world that can accommodate the largest mother vessel size. And on the right-hand side is our logistics network with more than 22 DCs. We have air cargo terminal, we have transportation fleet, including the shipping activities and other logistics activities. So that's about GEMADEP. The growth is not only the issue of becoming an effective business, but we are also aiming at becoming a healthy business, a sustainable business. So both effective and healthy, so that we can survive for many, many more decades. So concerning this issue, you see that for green port projects that we are deploying, including Gemelink Deep Sea Port in the south, including GEMADEP Trung Quốc International Port in the central. So those are the green port models that we have deployed, and we continue to multiply the green model throughout our port and logistics ecosystem. The optimization and green efficiency is also the issue of concern. That means that we are increasing the ratio of using the green energy in our activities, low carbon fuel and electrification for our equipment. We have the solar rooftop project at SCSC, the air cargo terminal. And right now, it is the largest solar rooftop in inside Ho Chi Minh City. And last year, it supplied up to 45% of the energy consumption of the An-Khai-Go terminal. And in the Mekong Delta, we deployed the solar rooftop at Mekong Logistics, our cold storage in the Mekong Delta. And this is supplying from 25 to 40% of the power supply per month for this warehouse. Besides, we are also deploying the Seed2Sea project piloted by Gemalink. It is the reforestation pilot project of planting 50 hectares of mangrove in the Mekong Delta. In addition, we also have the onshore power supply to vessels by the wind power. So those are the green projects of GEMADEP that we are deploying, and we will continue to deploy in the coming term. And the digitalization and the digital transformation is also a very important issue, so that we can become healthier and also more efficient in our operation. So GEMADEP became the pioneer in the market to successfully launch the Smart Port application. We successfully deployed in a northern port system, and now we are multiplying the application to Gemalink and other terminals in our network. So it brings a lot of values to our customers, would save the cost, save the time, and the operation cost, and also friendly to the environment. And that's my brief presentation of the GEMADEP and the related issues. And with the vision to become the leading corporation in Vietnam in port and logistics ecosystem, we are doing our best to bring higher and better value to all of the customers, the partners, as well as our shareholders and investors. Thank you very much for your very strong support, especially from Vietnam Holding and all of the other investors, so that together we can build not only the effective companies, but also the healthy environment. Thank you very much.
From the very start, when the first shipping vessel was welcomed to our terminal at the beginning of 2021, Gemalink has been the innovator, allowing us to not only survive, but actually thrive in the face of many challenges the year brought. Recognizing the importance of river transport in the supply chain in Vietnam, Gemalink is the first and in fact the only terminal to have a dedicated quay for barges, as well as utilizing the best handling equipment available on the market. To further build on this infrastructure advantage, we designed innovative solutions such as Rivergate, a collaborative platform between different members of the river supply chain which generated tremendous support from our client and partner network. With 2021 behind us, Gemalink entered 2022 with even greater ambition. Phase 2 of our infrastructure development will begin with expansion of both the yard and quay length, along with additional quay cranes to accommodate the increasing market demand. 2022 will also mark the adoption of cutting-edge technology such as a digitalized gate process, computerized maintenance management system, fully automated yard truck pooling system, and even AI-powered yard strategy. In the journey to do our part in combating climate change, we have been investing in initiatives that will help not only us, but also our partners to reduce the carbon footprint, such as electrical handling equipment, shore-to-ship power supply, an alternative energy source for our terminal operation, while carefully considering opportunities to contribute our resources to direct environmental efforts such as mangrove reforestation. It is our belief that this holistic approach to development is what makes Gemalink the international trade enabler.
So thank you, GEMADEP, for that good presentation, and also for sharing that video. The themes of resilience and drive come through in GEMADEP as they do across our portfolio. And thanks to companies such as GEMADEP, FPT, and the other portfolio companies that Tin mentioned, Vietnam Holding, our main fund, has been a strong performer. Last year, it was the top performing fund in Vietnam. It was also the top 3 performing investment trust in the United Kingdom, with very strong long-term outperformance against the Vietnam indices, but also against the broader EM, emerging market and frontier market. So Vietnam is an attractive destination for manufacturers involved in their export story, the global supply chain business that they're in. It's also an interesting place for investors, and it's a diversification from some other markets can add to your portfolios in that respect. So why Vietnam and why now? Well, strong performance in the stock market last year. Markets have come off a little bit this year, as they have globally. The valuations are compelling and attractive. Yes, Vietnam is still the largest part of the frontier index. It could be an emerging market at some stage, and we'll see a greater flow of capital. And then the points that we touched on today are really positively aligned with what the government wants to achieve. The government wants to achieve a modern industrialized economy, domestic wealth increase for its people. So that helps us from our consumer opportunities, and make Vietnam a key part of the global supply chain. So Vietnam is a very healthy, attractive place, even when the world is in a very difficult situation. And we're very pleased with Gemadep and our portfolio companies showing their resilience through these challenging times. We'll go now to some Q&A. Question, we have some in the chat and then some questions in the Q&A. Question for Gemadep. We've seen strong growth in the last 20 years for Gemadep. Could you please share what the prospect of Gemadep might be over the next 3 years? So over to Chital.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Thank you very much for the first question. So our aim in the next 3 years' time, 5 years' time, is to become a leading corporation in Vietnam in terms of integrated port and logistics ecosystem. So by 2025, as you can see, we have announced on the AGM resolution that by 2025, we aim to increase our volume and the profit before tax 3 times higher compared to the numbers in 2020. So that is our vision towards 2025 in terms of volume and the profit before tax, 3 times higher. That means that our volume by 2025 will reach about 6 million TEUs in terms of port operation. We also aim at leading in information technology application and management compared to the other companies in the same industry, to lead in quality and productivity. And besides strengthening of the port and logistics activities right now, we are also aiming at the other related projects, including ICDs, that means inland ports, including the river ports, industrial zones, logistics centers, air cargo terminal also. So those are the related activities that will strengthen our port and logistics ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay there, Chital. There's another question, which is, obviously, the world's in a volatile place. We've observed a slowdown in some container transportation in some areas in the world in the last couple of months. Is this the case in Vietnam? And if yes, is this going to affect the business plan for Gemadep for this year?
Thank you, Greg. So concerning this second question, I would like to introduce and invite Mr. Do Công Khanh, our Deputy CEO, who have the answer to the question. Mr. Khanh, please.
According to the trend, it's true that for the April and May, the figures is going down compared to March and the first 3 months of the years. And the southern part, the figures not going down so much. In the north, also not really compared to another competitor. The figures is around 8 to 10% compared to March. But anyhow, in March, we have the highest volume for the first 5 months of the years. It means that, in conclusion, that in the month of April and May, the figure of totally in Vietnam, the figures are going down. However, for Gemadep is not going down so much, and it still keep on track for the fourth figure. That's my answer.
Thank you. Obviously, people are very aware that last year Vietnam very bravely committed to net zero when the Prime Minister Chin attended COP26 in Glasgow. So in the context of Vietnam has committed to net zero, what's Gemadep's view on this? Is this something that's important? Is it achievable, and is it costly to you as a business, or how are you going to approach this?
Yes, thank you for the very hot question. According to the government's commitment to the global target that Vietnam is also aiming at, net zero by 2050. And of course, it will be realized only with the contribution from all of the enterprises, especially the large ones like Gemadep. So at Gemadep, in my presentation previously, you have seen that we are developing the green projects. So it includes 4 elements. The first one is the investment in the equipment. So you see for the new projects, Gemadep always target at the most state-of-the-art equipment so that we can have higher productivity, and it is also friendly to the environment using green energy. And the second element is the technology application. So Gemadep is on the way of digital transformation with the application of SmartPort, RiverGate, CarPost to help us to bring higher value, better services to our customers and partners, and as well to help us to control the energy consumption to be more efficient in our operation. The third element is, of course, the consumption of fuel and energy. So we use the electric equipment instead of the equipment using the diesel. You can see that RTG, so those are using the electricity right now. And we have wind power, solar power projects. We have the reforestation projects. And the fourth one, but also the most important, is the human resources. So without the human resources, our green goals will not be visualized. So at Gemadep, we already established the ESG committee in which our CEO, Mr. Nguyễn Thanh Bình, is the sponsor and the leader of the ESG committee. We have the plan, we have the roadmap to realize our goals towards the net zero.
Thank you. And there's a question, this may be a challenging question. In some ways, obviously, you mentioned you're one of the leading players in the port sector in Vietnam. It's not a monopoly. There are other players. There's a question about the competition in the port sector. How do you differentiate yourself, and are there similar Gemadeps out there?
Thank you very much, Greg. I would like to introduce and invite Mr. Phúc, is the Manager of Marketing and Business Development. He will answer the question. Mr. Phúc, please.
Yeah, thank you, Greg, for very interesting question regarding the competitive advantage as well as the thing that differentiate ourselves with other port operators. The first thing you can see in the presentation from Ms. Thao that we own the sole private company that own the port system, 8 port system from North, Central, and South Vietnam. And this combined with our ecosystem, including the logistic, the DC network along the coastline of Vietnam, acting like the basement, the consolidate facility together to consolidate cargo for our port system. So in the north, we also have 3 ports. In the center, we have 1 international port, and in the south, we have 3 ports. So this combine the strength of Gemadep in port sector. And so far, we are in terms of market size, we are one of the 3 biggest port operators in Vietnam. And we are also launching some big projects, such as the hub, the gateway in the north of it. We are also launching the Nam Dinh Vũ Phase 2 and Nam Dinh Vũ Phase 3 in the next 3 years. And by the time we complete, we will be one of the 2 biggest port operators in the north. In the south, by the end of this year, launching the Diem Linh Phase 2 by the end of this year. And by the time we complete it, we will be the largest deep sea terminal in Vietnam. So this build up the competitive advantage and differentiate ourselves with the others. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And there's another question from William in the UK, which I'll ask you first for Gemma, then we'll go to our team because it's a broader question as well. What do you see are the greatest risks or the challenges your business faces in Vietnam in the longer term over the next 5 to 10 years? While you're thinking on that, because it's quite a difficult question generally from our perspective, because I think the question was actually a broader one, is around Vietnam as a whole. I would say that some of the broader category risks, the challenges over the next 5 to 10 years, are how, you know, Vietnam has done a fantastic job of solving problems. It solved the problem of COVID, vaccinated its population very rapidly once it got hold of the vaccines. So it has to deal with these external threats and challenges. And it has a resilience that can do that. So there's probably unseen risks that face the world over the next 5, 10 years, but we think Vietnam's kind of core resilience is strong around that. I think the other challenge is a fundamental one of traffic. Vietnam needs to invest more in its infrastructure as the people get wealthier. They're consuming more, there's more motorbikes, more cars, and the infrastructure needs to catch up. The good thing is we've seen a strong multiplier effect of when infrastructure comes into a country like Vietnam for the first time, be it a new bridge, a new road, a new metro system, it unlocks a multiplier effect on the economy. So we certainly see that the challenge is, yes, there needs to be more infrastructure. There's a great positive benefit when that infrastructure is in place. But a challenge, of course, is these projects take time. So I think over the next 5 to 10 years, we'll see a lot of appetite for new investment in infrastructure. And that will probably be a combination of both domestically funded and also PPP, private partnerships with foreign investors and other institutions to develop out the infrastructure and see that multiplier effect raise quickly. But that's a longer term game, but that's certainly a challenge that Vietnam will need to overcome in terms of growing its domestic infrastructure. Chi Thao, from Gemadet's perspective?
Yes. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you for that question, an interesting one. So in terms of the Geodet perspective, we think that more opportunities in the next 5 or 10 years, more chance than risks, to be honest. We think that there are some general risks such as pandemic or geopolitical crisis, something like that. But optimistically, we think that more opportunity in the next 5 or 10 years in our perspective. Yeah.
Thank you for that. We did a survey a couple of years ago and we looked at the optimism in the Vietnam market, and it's true that Vietnamese people believe they're better off than their parents and that their children will be better off. So I think you touch on a point there, which is determinism, optimism, and resilience to meet any of those external challenges that come through. And Vietnam's certainly been punching above its weight over the last few years and is getting on more people's radar screens, both as a destination for manufacturing, and Vietnam is seeing a carve out of some manufacturing from some other Northeast Asian countries, including China, who are relocating some or all of their manufacturing to Vietnam to take advantage of all those favorable aspects that we mentioned earlier. But it's also starting to attract investors, people that want to see wealth generated through the capital markets. And this is also very much aligned with where the Vietnamese government's looking at the longer term journey. And just a couple of weeks ago, Prime Minister Chiem was in New York and he was waving the closing bell at the New York Stock Exchange, signaling that Vietnam is very much open for business and welcomes the capital markets as an instrument of raising finance to meet some of those challenges of domestic infrastructure. Well, we've come up to our allotted time. If there's questions that we haven't addressed, we will answer each of those by email. We will put the materials both on the website of Vietnam Holding and Dynam Capital, and we will send a video recording of the webinar to all those who are registered and wish to receive that. So at that, I'd like to thank very much our friends and our portfolio friends at Gemadet for their presentation, their time today. Again, we're proud to have you in our portfolio. Thank you for your hard work, and we're sure you'll meet the challenges with strong resilience and perseverance. And I'd like to thank our colleagues, Tan and Tin, for talking as well today, but particularly to thank you for your time. I know time is precious. There are many webinars The world is a complex place at times, and we hope that our little exploration in this one theme of our portfolio is of interest. Last year, we looked at FPT and digitalization. This year, GEMADET and being that logistics champion in the global supply chain. And in the future, we'll bring other investee companies and other investment topics to forums such as this, if you're interested to join. So thank you very much. Keep well, and we appreciate you following us and interacting with us. Many thanks.
Thank you very much, and hope to see all of you soon. Let's
Yes,
stay
indeed.
safe. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you and goodbye.
I see you.
Everyone, thank you.
Thank you.